Greetings, my friends. Welcome to the next episode of the Mint Mob Podcast. Jason here, joined by my buddy Alex across the pond over in Germany. And we're going to dive into all things crypto, Goodfellas NFT related, and what's happening with the markets. So, with that said, Alex, what's going on, buddy? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Yeah, you actually said it already, like what's happening in the markets, and I've been actually a little surprised when I saw Bitcoin going to 72 today, which was kind of unexpected. It felt like we're going to have that sideways movement below 70K for a couple of weeks. But yeah, haven't really found a reason. I know weekends are always a little quiet, but yeah, it was great to see all that green this morning. But current nowadays, you never know if it's going to 65 tomorrow again. But have you found any news on that?
I think there's just going to be a little bit more of a buildup as we get closer to the halving. I think we're about 10 days out. Believe the projection is April 20th or the 21st, depending on where you are in the world. So we're a little over a week and a half away from the halving. There's probably going to be a little bit of run up to that. And aside from that, I mean, I haven't really seen much in the way of what's happening on Bitcoin other than, what we've talked about in the past with the runes protocol that drops on the 20th. And then, of course, the ETF project, I'm sorry, the ETF funds. So I think the ETF funds are probably just taking advantage of the dip, which would be really smart for them.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, they're actually the ones who took the price to these heights, and yeah, looks like some retailers and yeah, private investors sold lately because I don't know if they wanted to take profits or if I mean already read from people who were like, hey, maybe like the cycle is over already. Maybe it was shorter and maybe this was a top and it's going down now. And people tend to panic pretty fast. And yeah, there are definitely big players who like to take advantage of that, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you have a traditional fund and you see massive gains, I mean, in the traditional markets, these types of gains are unheard of. I mean, they take years to accumulate, and so if these guys can sit on some double-digit gains and then pull them, I mean, they're absolutely going to pull them. And I think some of the analysts have basically been talking about the price of the having already being priced into the market, meaning that the market has already accounted for that, which may be the case. And so who knows? So there's probably some fear in some of the funds that there's going to be a pullback, and maybe they're banking some money and that sort of thing. But I mean, the truth is, we still haven't seen much. Like in the grand scheme of things, we haven't seen much investment from like the major market movers yet. So we'll see what's happening. I know that I think was it BlackRock? I have to look this up maybe while we're talking, but I think it was BlackRock or someone affiliated with BlackRock who threw a bunch more money at Bitcoin just recently. I'll see if I can pull that up, and I think that might have had some impact on the market because they are moving such large funds. But I mean, there's really no way of knowing unless we go into like Glassnode or something like that and start analyzing wallets.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's pretty interesting because I had to think about what you said like a couple episodes ago that all these crypto dudes are actually I don't know how you said it like acting as if like the numbers are programmed to go up, something like that. And yeah, it's crazy. I mean, inside the space, inside the bubble, people are always or still very convinced that everything is going up and I'd love to see the opinion from outsiders who maybe see, hey, crypto is going up, and if these guys who are not very familiar with the space, if they are thinking that this might go to heights that crypto people think about, like I'm not sure if regular people would or whatever I call regular right now. But if people from outside the space would actually expect Bitcoin to go to 200, 300 k, I feel like when they get into the coin and they buy in at I don't know 60 or 65, then they are definitely feeling like, hey, it went to 80, and that's a crazy profit for me. And as you mentioned, if they are used to stock markets, then this is going to happen over and over again, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. There's a kind of a saying in the Bitcoin world where people say that people get Bitcoin at the price they deserve. What they're saying is basically like the people who do the research earliest, who have the greatest advantage because they're willing to put in the time and the effort and learn about the project and the incentives and how it's structured and all these other things. And so, the average person is not willing to do that. So the average person, like you said, is going to be coming in through a fund. They're probably not going to have their own wallet. And so most of the buying that's going to come, like you said, is going to be through a fund or through a bigger name. And so they're going to get Bitcoin at the price they deserve. And, this just comes from not doing the work, not doing the 100 hours necessary to really get, gain some mastery over a topic. So it's really interesting to see what happens. I mean, we're at $1 trillion or just over $1 trillion in market cap. And I think we're at less than 1% of global GDP still. So, I mean, we're still at the infancy of this thing and there's a long way to go. But I think the halving cycles, starting at back in the day when it went from 50 to 25 to 12 and a half, to 6.25, which is where we're at now. And it's about to drop to 3.125 will be the next halve of that. The interesting piece is as we approach the 21 million cap on Bitcoin, the market may cycle up and down less due to the halving, but more due to the fact that people are learning more and more about the project. Because, the truth is dropping from 6 to 3 is not a huge drop. It's not like dropping from 25 to 12 and a half or from, 50 to 25. So the supply shock is going to be less. But if the interest and the industries that are building up around the interest in the project, like the mining industry, for example, the finance industries, and even now the mortgage industries, there are people who are putting up companies where you can get mortgages against your Bitcoin, that sort of thing. As that stuff becomes more and more online and becomes more mainstream, then you'll see more, I think, traditional funds, but also regular people, like you said, the average person start to buy.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to have a little crystal ball to see like Bitcoin in 20 years. There will be another halving, and that will probably not have that much of an effect on the supply. Um, but yeah, maybe Bitcoin will be will be down to zero. Who knows? But talking about Bitcoin, let's maybe jump into the rune stones we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, and I'd like to take a look on the way Leonidas is promoting the rune stones, because it's actually pretty funny, um, that he uses the same tools that Solana degens use. And when you check like the Twitter from him, and you see all that stuff that he's posting, like, hey, we are going to get like the market cap of, I think he posted a meme, of like the Mad Lads, Pudgy Penguins. Now they got the Bored Apes, and only CryptoPunks are left. And what else does he do? Like, hey, if you hold the runestone, you're going to get like 3 meme coins, and all that. And do you think it's different to what Solana people do?
No, not at all. It's exactly. I mean, when you look at it, it's just whether it's Solana or ETH or whatever. When you're doing this type of stuff, you're just playing from a psychological playbook, not necessarily a Solana playbook or an ETH playbook or a degen playbook. It's just psychology, right? So what he's doing is he's making promises and he's, incentivizing people to hold, which is if you want number go up technology to work, then you have to incentivize people to hold because you need fewer sellers than buyers, right? That's the only way a market goes up. And so, anything that you can do to incentivize holds is a good thing for number go up technology. But I mean, it doesn't matter how long this happens or how far it goes up. At some point, you run out of incentives. and the market has to shift and come back down. And you saw that with, like Bored Apes. You saw that with all the big NFT projects, and you'll continue to see it because markets have to cycle. They have to cycle up and down. That's natural. So yeah, no different from what you see in Solana, except for the fact that maybe it's done a little bit, and this might come across the wrong way. So, I don't mean to offend anyone, but there's a lot of projects on Solana just run by people who don't understand human psychology. They're just basically following a playbook that says if I do enough free shit or if I give enough giveaways, I'll get enough attention, and this thing will look the way I want it to look. I think Leonidas and their team know exactly what they're doing. I think they are intentionally incentivizing things for this specific outcome because they do have a goal. Like their goal is to be the biggest meme coin ever, right? And that's a big deal. And I think that in and of itself excites people, right? Like everybody wants to be part of something bigger than themselves. And so you have the psychological aspect of, hey, we're going to incentivize you to hold by giving you this drop and this coin and that coin. But at the end of the day, you also get to feel like you're part of making history if you can own one of the very first pieces, or if you can own a runestone that, was the first time something ever happened on Bitcoin and it overtook the entire, meme coin market all at once. And so I think if you look at it from that standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. And there's a lot of, well thought out plays that are driving that. And this idea of being bigger, being the biggest, being part of something bigger than yourself, that's a huge driver as well. And that's something that you don't really see on Solana. Solana is just about grabbing the money. It's like, hey, let me dump some shit on some people and grab the money and run. That's not really what's happening here. So I think there is a little bit of a difference, but from a psychological standpoint, it's very much the same.
It's interesting that you mentioned the good old Solana playbook of people doing like giveaways and doing like free mints and free shit. It's actually pretty interesting because all that stuff used to work back then. Back I remember in 2021, you could do any shit you want. You could release any kind of collection, no matter if it's like 5,000 or 7,000 pieces, and everyone was pressing the mint button like hell, just trying to mint a piece and then go on secondary, and trying to make money. It's almost seemed like some kind of meme coin launch where, in the beginning everything goes up, and then there is some kind of turning point, and everyone panic sells after that, and then it reaches the bottom, mostly like zero, of course.
Yeah.
And it's actually good to see that kind of stuff is not working anymore. But you mentioned it. Leonidas is actually making use of psychology, and he's definitely doing a good job. I mean, I see people FOMOing in on X, trying to be part of that movement. And it always seems like there are like little setbacks, as you mentioned, in every cycle. Like it's probably now going to, I don't know, 0.085 or 0.9 even, then having a little setback, just like it had back then when it went from 0.6 to I think 0.35 or something. And that's actually pretty interesting because in terms of psychology, that actually is pretty similar to what happens in the crypto space, because that's how actually your trading method works. Like no cryptocurrencies going up only. There's always a setback, and you can trade that to make some money, and it's a pretty safe way. And I feel like it's always pretty interesting to see how psychology is like the same everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. And this, comes from the marketing world. My first business was in web development. And then, from web development, I got into copywriting and marketing and reading the psychology and learning so much about that. And then in real life today, I'm a, personal and performance coach. And so we talk a lot about psychology. And the through line in all of it is that human psychology hasn't changed for tens of thousands of years. And so the same things that work will continue to work until people get burned enough to realize, okay, well, that hurts. I touched the hot stove one too many times. I burned all 5 fingers, and so I'm not going to do that anymore, right? But until you get to the point of maximum pain, you continue to allow psychology to run you. And so it's interesting to watch. And it's also going to be interesting to watch it turn around. And that's why I know that, the way that we're building with the licensing model and then looking for use cases for tokens in the real world is the way to go. Because eventually, the fish, they get smart to the lure and they stop buying the same fishing lure. So you have to come up with a new one, and then the market shifts. And so now it goes away from just like what you were saying, just hit the mint button, hit the mint button, hit the mint button, to, okay, well, now what am I actually minting? What am I giving my money to? What am I actually supporting? And people are starting to ask that question more and more. Like when you see free mints not mint out, it's like someone's not even willing to pay the transaction costs. I mean, they're telling you that they're getting a little smarter, and so at the end of the day, that's where the market's going to go. And the only question is who's going to be in front of that wave when it hits. And so, when we're building out Goodfellas, that's what we're trying to think of. We're trying to think of where's the market going, not where is it now, because where it is now is not where it's going to be as we mature. So it's great to realize that human psychology between fear and greed is always going to give you an opportunity, and that volatility is your best friend. So if you're a trader and you're watching these markets right now, or if you're a meme coiner and you're really loving, the volatility in the market, then you are having the time of your life. Because if you get excited staring at a screen, being able to trade this and trade that and pick up a few percentage points here or a lot of percentage points there, then this is the best thing ever. But if you're the average person and you're not watching your screen and you're not watching a chart and you're buying these meme coins thinking that you're going to have some sort of lasting value, that's when, people start getting hurt. And that's where the trader is really, at his best. When someone does enough marketing to bring in the average person, this average unsuspecting person thinks that this meme coin is going to be around and that the project has value, even though it's just like every other project that's been dropped. And then of course the price rises and the trader pulls his money out and goes to the next project. The unsuspecting average person leaves their money in and gets beat to shit. And that's the sad thing, right? So my whole thing is like, if you're going to be in the market, just know what you're doing, know what your reasoning is, and the market will give you the opportunity that you're looking for. But if you are trying to, make wealth or create wealth on a meme coin, if you're not a trader, you're really in over your head. And you just have to understand that market doesn't care about you and it's going to keep moving. It's kind of funny that we kind of got on this topic, because yesterday I was flipping through X and I saw some guy posted a picture of Frank from D-Gods, and he was in a car, window was kind of half rolled down, and he was looking out the window, and this guy snapped a photo of him, and the tweet read something like, I lost my I lost 20 grand, I lost my house, I lost my job, and no shit, I'm riding my bike to work and this is what I see. And then he posted a picture of Frank. And it was just so funny because it's like, he's like blaming Frank because he lost his money. But the truth is, like, Frank didn't make him put his money in the market, right? and, and I can't tell you how many times I've seen this where people are just upset because they lost all their money because they put their faith in a meme coin or a founder or a project or something. And then at the end of the day, they realize, oh, what did I really buy? Well, I'm not really sure. I don't know. I don't understand. I didn't have a strategy. I just threw a bunch of money in there thinking that, hey, number go up, technology is going to take care of me from here on out. And of course, it never works out that way,
Yeah, but the question is, and that's what I've been thinking about a lot, is that all the information is out there, like if you go to anyone in the space who's like trading or I don't know, does some just buying and holding, and then you talk to him about market psychology, there's so many information on that. So why I always feel like people should should know better. Like I always feel like everyone should be able to beat the market and be able to behave like the right way and be able to not it's probably like emotions in my opinion. People are very emotional when they trade and try to make money, and when they lose money especially trying to make it back.
Hmm.
So yeah, but it's definitely going to be some kind of I don't know, um question for me, that people are not able to get these information, because like there's so many books, there are like on the internet so many good videos on that, how do people behave, psychology of the masses, and yeah, people are just not learning, and I don't know why.
It's funny that you mentioned this. Like when you think about the traditional investment market, which we've mentioned a few times, right? You think of people like Warren Buffett. You think of people like Munger, Charlie Munger, his partner. And when you look at what they did to build wealth, over a period of 80 years, they've been around forever, it seems like. Really, their job is to be professional no sayers. Like they say no to 99% of opportunities in the marketplace. And they've really only had 5 or 6 big wins. And they only buy when they know that there's a disproportionate chance that they can win. But what you see in a new market like NFTs or Web3 is you see the exact opposite. You see people saying yes to everything. And when you say yes to everything, it just means you don't know what you're doing, right? You're literally just hoping that you're going to end up with something that's going to, sort of pay off in the future. But if you've got 100 bets placed on 100 different things and only one of them pays off, well, your other 99 will basically, counteract your gains that you got from your one good pick. So, I mean, really, what people should be considering, and what I'm thinking about when this market, or as this market matures, is like, what's worthy of saying yes to, and everything else is a no. Like, I have to find a reason to say yes. What is the reason to say yes? And if in the process of doing that research, I find any reason to say no, I just say no and I move on to the next thing. And if somebody makes money and I didn't, then I'm happy for that person. I don't care. Like I'm happy that someone else made money in that project, right? And I just assume that we're all adults here and that everyone can deal with their situation. But, you can't place bets on everything, not understand what you're doing, and then show up and blame other people for your losses. Because the truth is, you didn't do your research. As many times as you hear, do your own research, very few people actually do. And it's very difficult in the market where a lot of people are anonymous and you're betting on what you don't know. And so, we're in the shitcoin casino or the NFT casino, even when you're dealing with anonymous people, with no clear direction and, no clear guideline to profitability or to making a real business in the world, then hey, you have to be extremely, extremely careful of what you say yes to. And unfortunately, that skill hasn't been developed in this market yet, in a lot of the buyers yet. And so it's just going to take time.
Yeah, but I feel like the space, especially X, is giving you a wrong expectation of what you can expect, and the wrong expectation of like your chances to get a big win, especially on the meme coins. I mean, you mentioned it. We are always preaching like, hey, do your own research, like do your own research. But we also always say like no financial advice, usually. But what
Right.
these people on Twitter do actually is exactly that. They are shilling these coins. They are saying like, hey, this is going up, you have to be early, or you are early and get in, and this and that. And people see all these stories, these successful people who, I don't know, traded like $100 to a million, and then they feel like, okay, if I just have to try multiple times, I just need to hit it once. And then they try here and there, and then 10 grands are gone, and they still haven't hit it, but they just see people being successful on X because they just keep posting, hey, I did this and that, and then you're in that cycle where you just keep losing and losing. And yeah, this is probably the bad thing about crypto in general, and all these meme coins.
No, you're absolutely right. But I mean, I think people have to realize social media is curated, just like a museum curates art. Everybody curates their own timeline, and they're only showing you what they want you to see. So at the end of the day, if I'm seeing someone win, my first question is, okay, how many losses did that person take before they got their win? If someone traded, I've seen people trade thousands of dollars up to hundreds of thousands of dollars in traditional markets. So it's absolutely possible to do it in crypto and probably do it much, much faster. But by the same token, I know that those people lost on the way. I'm not naive enough to think that they didn't, lose money on their way up. So if I look at someone who put in 10 grand and they turned it into, let's say, 100 grand, okay, awesome. Kudos. Congratulations. I'm so happy for you that you did that because, hey, the more money you spend, the more businesses you can support, the more jobs people have, et cetera, et cetera. It all gets spread around. That's fantastic. But I'm not naive enough to think that he only put in 10,000 and won that one time. He probably put in 1,000 here and lost it, 2,000 there and lost it, 5,000 there and lost it, and lost and lost and lost until he finally put in 10 grand and won. So kudos. Maybe the profit isn't 90,000 or I'm sorry, yeah, 90,000 in this case. Maybe the profit is 50,000, which is still amazing. It makes up for all the other losses, but it's not, hey, I just immediately won the first time I threw something in the jukebox here, right? And if you don't think about, what you're seeing and realize that it's curated, then you fall prey to that FOMO, like you said, right? Like people really need to change FOMO into JOMO, right? Like it's not fear of missing out. It's like joy of missing out. Like I'm literally happy that I didn't fuck myself sideways, and lose all my family money doing this stupid shit because I didn't understand what I was doing. And then that, and again, I'm talking to like the average person that's not a trader. If you're a trader, you know what you're doing and you get what you're going to get, and everybody is, playing by those rules. But, if you're the average person, hey, pick 2 or 3 projects that you think you can really understand and that have legs and that have founders that and that have a direction. And then, hey, experience some JOMO. Like say no to all this other shit out there and just be happy that you have some things that are going to be around for the future, and then be cool with that. I think that's probably the more mature way to look at it. And maybe this is because I've been through some downturns, but I feel like there's a lot of people who turn themselves inside out because they think they missed something. Like I could sit here and cry because I sold my runestone at like 0.018 or whatever it was, right? And today it's at 0.06 or whatever you said it was. I don't even know. But the truth is I don't give a shit. Like somebody gave me 2 grand. Why am I going to cry about that? Maybe I could have had 6 grand. Okay, maybe. But the flip side of that is I could have had 0 grand, right? So I'd rather take the 2 and put it in something that I know is going to be around and not worry about it. And that's me. That works for me. But if you're a trader and you're looking at psychology and you're looking at markets, hey, maybe you're upset because you missed that opportunity. Or maybe you're just taking that money and putting it in another opportunity and multiplying it elsewhere. But the point I'm trying to make is that opportunity is not a zero-sum game. Like there's always more opportunity. But if you're constantly losing, like so many people do with the meme coin game or the free mint game, if you're constantly losing, you never give yourself an opportunity to win because you can't acquire enough capital to invest somewhere else.
Yeah, you just described in the beginning when you spoke the good old story of like sharing your win but hiding your losses, and this is definitely making a wrong impression to people from the outside. And yeah, regarding the runestones, I totally agree. I mean, I told you in the beginning that you're going the safe way, and the 2 grand that you maybe put into Solana is going to make like 3 or 4 X's as well. So why take the risk and keep it in the runestones where you never know if it's going to zero in 15 minutes. So yeah, definitely the right choice. Um, yeah, but you might have noticed today's Monday, and usually I have my little sneak peek Monday going on every week, but today I did not publish any kind of sneak peek, and that has a little reason because we got some problems with Solana, not just us, but actually everyone. It's actually pretty congested, and I know you're an insider. I know you know Raj personally. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, I'm anything but an insider, man. I wish I was an insider. Yeah, then I would have already been done with crypto, right? Me and A16Z, we would have invested in Solana when it was 2 pennies and, retired by now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, what's happening is kind of interesting. I'll say that there was a protocol released into the wild on Solana called OR. And what OR is a smart contract that allows you to mine similar to the way Bitcoin mining works. So in a proof of work environment, you have a computer sitting, somewhere on the internet, plugged into a wall, sucking electricity, running up your power bill. And what it's doing is it's generating hashes, and it's trying to solve a problem by generating these random hashes. Think of it as like buying 1,000 lottery tickets every second, right? You have this computer, it's buying 1,000 lottery tickets every single second, and it's checking those lottery tickets against a block hash to see, hey, did I win the block? And if you're the computer that generated the block hash that solves or wins the block, then you get the block reward, right? Which right now we said before is 6.25 Bitcoin. And what this protocol is doing on Solana is the same thing. It's giving you a block, and it's giving you an algorithm to hash. And then when your computer is hashing this algorithm and it's trying to solve this block, if you're the person who solves the block, then you get the block reward. In this case, the token is called ORE, O-R-E. And so everybody and their brother decided that they're going to start mining ORE on Solana, which is kind of interesting. It's not really mining, but it simulates mining, and it's running on top of Solana. But you have basically 1 million plus transactions every single hour hitting the Solana network all at the same time because everyone is trying to, mine this token called OR and win a block reward. And the last time I looked at the chart, I didn't look at it today, but the price for one OR token was over $1,000 US. So the incentives to mine were very, very, very high. And of course, Solana was not ready for this, and the entire network has gotten stalled because of all these basically spam transactions is what they are. And basically it's created all this congestion, and now it's very difficult to transact for anyone on the network, which is, one of the reasons that you see the speed of Bitcoin being what the speed of Bitcoin is and what the transaction costs are. It prevents that. But on Solana, the transaction costs are so small and the speed is so high that you can basically spam the network for very little money and do it very, very quickly. And when we have a bunch of people doing that all at once, the network is like struggling to breathe. And so that's what's happening on Solana, and that's probably why you've popped open Phantom and seen the little notification in there that says, Solana's experiencing, congestion or what have you. It's just because of all these, sort of mock mining transactions that are going through. And of course, with this being the case, the Solana Foundation released a statement, or one of their developers did, saying something like, hey, we're trying to work on a fix for this. But as of today, nothing has been released, to my knowledge anyway. So, network congestion continues because there's no way to limit the spam, because there's no way to just magically increase fees on just these computers, at least not yet. And so the incentive to mine with tokens over 1,000 and transactions being fractions of pennies is just going to continue to drive adoption. And, we'll see what's going to happen. But that's really where the congestion is coming from. And until Solana releases something or this contract goes down, I don't see that changing, at least not this week. So we'll see what happens.
But from what I understood now, so that protocol is actually simulating like the mining process. So it's actually not even necessary to do that. They just do it to give people the token, or am I wrong on that?
Yeah, they're simulating. Well, I guess you could look at it a couple different ways. So if we look at Bitcoin, so for example, I spent I don't know, 10 grand on a Bitcoin miner and plugged it into the wall, and it's going to suck like, five or $600 worth of electricity out of the wall every single month. And I'm going to join a mining pool, and I'm going to get a fraction of every Bitcoin that mining pool earns, right? And so I could say the proof that that Bitcoin is mine is the fact that I invested the energy necessary to create it. Just like if I were pulling gold from a gold mine, I would have to invest in the energy of machines and people necessary to access the gold and refine it. So it's meant to mock this idea of mining something precious from the earth. The way the contract is working is similar, but the costs associated with it are much, much smaller. So I could have a computer on my desk running this little miner, which actually runs inside a web browser. I was playing with it the other night. I threw like because you have to pay for your transactions. I threw like point one Solana into a wallet and then just kicked off the miner. And then it took like 3 or 4 hours for it to finally create an account and do something. But it's just throwing transactions from my computer and using a tiny amount of energy to create that. And so technically it is proof of work in that I'm having to pay for the electricity necessary to run the computer that's generating those hashes. But it's not really proof of work because I'm not really in competition with other people per se, the way I would be for a singular block in Bitcoin. And I mean, that gets a little more technical, but that's the basic gist of what's happening.
So that's crazy. I mean, I read that the network is actually trying to solve that problem by having updates this week. I'm not sure if they're actually convinced that it's going to work, but it's crazy. I mean, I feel like if Solana had witnessed that maybe a year ago, it would have like probably like driven down the price a lot, because I remember like when Solana had to be restarted for the first time, it like the price decreased a lot, at least like for a couple hours or days, I don't know. But it had definitely a pretty big effect. But it feels like nowadays people don't even care about it, right?
You mean the network going down?
Yeah, it's not going down, but it's actually not usable right now, and
Oh,
you do not really see that in price action.
yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, the truth is, if you were a trader or are a trader, it's probably very difficult to move money around right now on the network, at least at any speed, right? I mean, just sending an NFT to someone right now, my transactions keep failing, so it's very difficult. I'm not sure if people can get in and out of the chain, but I think the price of Solana could come all the way back down to in the 130s, just based on the price action. I mean, we'll see what happens when the last meme coin drops, and the attention shifts to something like runestones at the halving. We'll see what happens, see who sells and buys. But at the end of the day, like I think if you've been on Solana long enough, you know that the network has the potential to stall or the potential to need to be restarted. And you know that there is a foundation that's actively working to maintain the code. So I think that quells some of the fear, some of the worry. But if you're wanting to sell and you can't get out, then the price really can't move that much. So I'm just curious how much trading has been impacted. I don't really think there's a good way of knowing that. But if we had a good idea of how many transactions had been stalled or failed or couldn't go through because of it, that would tell us what's happening with the price. I know the price dropped all the way down to the 170s again over the weekend. So I mean, who knows, man? It could definitely drop further.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I also wonder how much Solana relies on all these meme coins in terms of volume and money that flows in. I mean, the first meme coins were launched. I mean, Doge is obviously, and Shiba Inu are obviously the first meme coins. But then we have like Pepe, I think that is from ETH, and then that whole Solana hype started back then with I think it was Bonk, and people realized, hey, transactions, like the fees are very very low. It's very like the speed is very good and everything, but there are definitely other chains who are capable to do that as well. So let's see if that meme coin momentum shifts someday, and maybe like meme coins will be on other chains as well, and the focus is, yeah, kind of going away from Solana, and money flows out, and yeah, that might affect the price, but yeah, who knows, man. It definitely depends on how Solana moves on from here. I feel like if they are able to bring out that Fire Dancer update finally, and manage to get, like, I don't know what you said, like 1 million transactions per second or something. If they manage to do that and keep on building, then yeah, I think people will definitely stay and keep investing here.
Yeah, I don't think Solana is in any danger of going anywhere. I'm sure they'll eventually work out what's going on with the this quote unquote mining protocol called OR. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But I think the probably the higher level thinking here, at least the philosophy here, the way that I'm looking at this is like a lesson, right? Like people are always bitching and moaning about something. No one's ever happy. Like someone will complain about like Bitcoin transactions being slow, and then someone else will say, well, Solana, the Solana community is too degen or whatever. There's always a complaint. ETH technology is too complicated. Doesn't need to be that complicated. And at the end of the day, like every chain has its pluses and minuses. And Solana, I think, has done a good job of balancing the tech piece with the usability piece, which is something that I don't think really Ethereum's done a good job of, and a lot of other, like layer ones haven't done a good job of. Solana has a lot of business use cases. And, with Metaplex developing the way that they've been developing for NFTs on Solana, I mean, it really makes it sort of a premier chain for digital collectibles, which is where we want to be. Now, Bitcoin is awesome for things like value creation and protection. Like if I want to store value, I'm not going to store it on Solana. I'm going to store it on Bitcoin. If I want to store copyright or important documents, I'm going to inscribe them on Bitcoin because it's forever. That's kind of how I think of it. But, you can see the philosophical reasonings behind both things, right? Like if you need the speed because you're in business, hey, Solana's fantastic. But if you have low fees and high speed, then you can spam the network, which is what we're seeing right now. That's not possible with Bitcoin because every transaction costs you something. It costs you something significant. And so with the slower speed and with significant costs, you don't get spam, you don't get failed networks, you don't get downtime. You just get something that works across the board forever since its inception for 15 straight years, right? Like that's the difference. And so that's why when I think of Bitcoin as the layer one, it is the layer one. Solana could easily be a layer two to Bitcoin because obviously you can bridge between the two. You could do other things on top of Solana. So, I mean, everything has its uses. And ultimately, I think as the market matures, we're going to see, the sort of also rans, like the chains that are doing what other chains do, the copycat chains, some of the more obscure layer ones, I think they just all go away. And you're probably left with 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5 chains that are really 99% of the market. But, time will tell. We're super early in the S curve and, we're just going to have to wait and see. So like you said, man, we're going to have to see that crystal ball that you keep talking about. Like, where do you see the market going?
I gotta say, I'm especially in that context, I'm definitely having the degen mindset, and I see everything going up, like at least until mid 25, and then we might reach the top, at least for like some coins. I know that in the last cycle, some coins reached their top a little later, but yeah, let's see. Might be wrong, but of course, hoping that fulfills. But how did we get here? We actually wanted to explain people why we decided to postpone the mint. And yeah, that's actually the reason, because we know that it has been like, it was a little annoying last time when we minted. I know a lot of people had struggles, and I know that I, like, when I sent out the transaction, it took like, I don't know, a couple minutes until the mint was done. So yeah, just to prevent that, the next time it's probably would probably be even worse. And to prevent that, we decided to postpone the mint until maybe next week. We don't know yet. Let's see how the network does next week. But I think it was definitely the right decision for today, because like the mint is going to be like, the piece is so beautiful and it deserves like a stable network and a working network. So yeah, I think it was the best decision for us and the community.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think part of the fun of NFTs is the experience of minting, So when your mint experience is kind of shitty, it's like, this sucks. Like, it takes the fun out of it. And it just it's one of those things where, like, when you go to the mint page and you see, like this background there, you see our logo, you see a piece or an image or some indication of what you're going to mint, and then you hit the mint button, and then there's like an animation. Like, for me, I want every part of the mint experience to be like a one of a kind positive experience. And with the network being slowed down by this protocol, it just kind of takes the fun out of it. So I think definitely the right thing to do is just to wait to see what's going to drop in terms of updates or upgrades or whatever they're going to do, and then go from there. Because we got the halving coming up, there's 1,000 things to do, and it's going to give us an opportunity to actually get all the data right. Which we're behind on some of the data work, from the ordinal pieces to the metaplex roles. I know you and I talked a little bit about that, so it'll give us an opportunity to get caught up on that and maybe even get the Soul Rocker stuff onboarded as well.
Yeah, that's actually a good opportunity to give people here for the end of the episode a little overview of like everything going on behind the scenes. Like, we are having the final drop. It's actually not even the, like, there will be another drop, but the bonus drop from Maria is going to drop as soon as we are able to, like as soon as the network allows it, and that is going to be a piece that merges our art with Maria's. She actually drew some traits, and the good thing is that the new artist that we signed a deal with, she also agreed on doing that. So this might be a great thing in the future to get a lot of new art styles and variations in our own collection, and people who work with our art. That is definitely going to be a great thing in the gallery, in the 21s. And then we have the Batchment coming up around the halving. It's actually in 2 weeks, so we still need to think about that. I know we said a couple times that it will be like around the halving, but just as like the artist incubator drop mint, we need to see how the network is going to work until then. So cannot finally like finalize the date yet, but I'm definitely working on that. And then we have the Soul Rockers, that we got licensed. Maybe you can drop a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. So this community is actually built by the drummer from the band Everclear. His name is Brian. He's actually one of our boss holders as well. And he basically had this vision of building a game, like a play to earn rhythm game, and supporting it via an NFT mint. And so he had this artist out of Europe do this really cool, super detailed cartoon like band characters. I mean, when you look at the detail in the artwork, it's amazing. Kind of actually reminds me of some of the detail that like Petunios puts in his work. It's super detailed. And when I saw the artwork, I fell in love with it. And I ended up, like whaling into that project because I loved the artwork so much. And then I met the founder and, developed a relationship with him. Went to see him play, he got me some, like backstage passes and stuff like that. And we hung out a little bit. And so I think he just felt comfortable like giving the reins over after he realized that I was a real boy, I was a real person. And he just didn't have the wherewithal to carry the project to fruition. It just got to the point where it was too much for him with his tour schedule and his family and all that kind of thing. And plus losing a lot of partners. So for me, it was just about, I want to make sure that the artwork stays alive, and I want to be able to find uses for this new arm of the business, which would incorporate this artwork, whereby we potentially tie the artwork to MP3s. And I think this is an opportunity to start tokenizing assets in the real world. So RWA, real world asset tokenization. This could be like our first foray into that. And this could be one of the businesses, like if we think in terms of the bosses in our theme, like we got bosses out there and we want them to be big players in whatever markets that they're in. This would be an opportunity for them to own music now, right? So they can go into another line of business, just like, the fellows would in the real world. They're going to have a hand in a bunch of different pots. And so I feel like this is a great opportunity to start the conversation with them. And like I said, in the last spaces, I haven't really made an announcement inside their Discord yet, just because I need to explain how our project works, being that it's not the typical Solana, pump and dump type stuff. So this week, I think, is a good opportunity to make that happen. So hoping to get that done, and then we'll onboard a few people from that community and start bringing more announcements around that artwork and what we can do with it. And then, of course, start reaching out to people in the real world who want to tokenize their music and get it on chain, which I think would be super cool.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I feel like the feedback that we've gotten so far from people who know the Solrokers is great. I mean, I love the art. It's very unique as well, and I think it's definitely a great addition to what we have so far. So, yeah, I think we are good for now. We had a lot of topics, a lot of interesting stuff that we talked about, and yeah, definitely looking forward to get that out as soon as possible so people know why we postponed the mint. And yeah, thank you everyone for listening. Last words from my man Jason.
I'm still waiting for your Eminem rap, man. I want to get it on tape here. I want to.
Recall. We actually said that I'm doing that Eminem rap, and people are eagerly waiting. But yeah, I'm saving that for the spaces.
Come on, man. Come on. Like, let's see. I think you told me one time your family is of Greek descent. Is that correct? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, my father is Greek and my mom is German. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So this is the only time in history where I've had the opportunity to ask a German man of Greek descent to do an American rap song by a white rapper.
The problem is, that I know that my brother sometimes listens to the podcast and he would like cut it out and probably like play it on the next Christmas party. So yeah, I have to pass, unfortunately.
All right, I'm gonna keep going, man. But yeah, no, I appreciate it. It was good checking in today and catching up. So thanks for taking the time, and yeah, we'll close it out here, man. Last words to you.
Perfect, man. Yeah, thank you everyone for listening, and until next time.
Until next time, talk soon.